Ever stop to think about what a dog would look like if it were designed by an entire continent and not by people? Well, today we're diving into the incredible story of Africa's ancient dog breeds. These are true forgotten guardians, shaped by millennia of pure survival. We usually think of dog breeds as these carefully crafted creations, right? But let's flip that idea on his head. What if the perfect dog wasn't designed in a kennel at all, but was literally sculpted by nature itself, forged in some of the toughest environments on Earth? Sure, you've probably heard of the Basenji, maybe the Rhodesian Ridgeback, and they're fantastic dogs. But honestly, they're just scratching the surface. Beyond them lies this hidden world of ancient canines, what you might call the unseen originals, that have been thriving on the African continent for thousands of years. Now, to really get these dogs, we have to understand one key idea: the landrace. This isn't your typical breed. A breed is usually standardized for a specific appearance. A landrace, though, is shaped by its environment and its job. It's all about function and survival. Think of it as being built for purpose, not for posing. Okay, so let's meet some of these remarkable survivors. We're going to look at a few really distinct types, each one forged by the incredibly different landscapes of the continent, from the wide-open savanna all the way to the punishing desert. First up, we have the Africanis. This dog is the absolute archetype of a landrace. This is not a breed someone developed. It's what you'd call a living biological artifact, shaped entirely by natural selection in southern Africa. For thousands of years, only the smartest, the healthiest, and the most adaptable dogs survived. The result? An unbelievably robust and genetically healthy animal. And this is a story with deep, deep roots. Just look at this timeline. The ancestors of the Africanis showed up in the Nile Delta nearly 7,000 years ago. From there, they journeyed south with migrating people over centuries, eventually becoming a huge part of the lives of the indigenous peoples of southern Africa. This dog has a history that literally spans a continent. All right, let's leave the savanna and head into the harsh desert. This is the home of the specialists, the elegant sighthounds. These dogs are perfectly engineered for what they do. They're built for extreme heat, incredible endurance, and breathtaking speed. And it's amazing how two dogs that look so similar can be so different. On the left, you've got the Azawakh. It's leggier, more rectangular, with this intense, almost feral expression. Now look at the Sloughi on the right, a bit longer in the body, smoother muscles, and this gentle, almost sad look. The Sloughi is so revered where it comes from that it's known as El Hor, the noble one. So, from the desert sands, we're now climbing high into the rugged Atlas Mountains to meet our last survivor portrait, the Aidi. This dog isn't a hunter, it's a guardian, a tough, courageous protector of both flocks and people. And this is just a brilliant example of why understanding a dog's real job is so important. The Aidi used to be called the Atlas sheepdog, but that was just plain wrong. It doesn't hurt sheep, it guards them. And get this, it had this amazing partnership with the Sloughi. The Aidi would use its incredible sense of smell to find prey, and then the Sloughi would be let loose for the high-speed chase. What a team. But here's the thing. This incredible legacy, shaped over thousands and thousands of years, it's now facing very modern threats. These ancient dogs are caught in a clash of worlds, and honestly, their very survival is on the line. One of the trickiest challenges is what you could call a double-edged sword. When a kennel club officially recognizes a breed, that can bring a lot of good attention and resources. But it can also shift the focus to a really strict physical standard, which risks breeding out the very functional traits and genetic diversity that made the landrace so resilient in the first place. If you want a stark example, just look at the South African Berber bull. This chart shows a really dangerous genetic bottleneck. What that means is the entire gene pool has been squeezed through a tiny opening. Just 10 individual dogs account for over half of the entire breed's genetic diversity. That is a massive risk to the long-term health of this incredible guardian. And beyond those genetic risks, there are threats that are immediate and, well, brutal. In Morocco, home of the Aidi, the preparations for the 2030 FIFA World Cup have actually led to what's being called a killing charter. These are mass culling programs for free-roaming dogs. And they don't just endanger street dogs, they threaten the local land races that are a vital piece of that country's heritage. So you might be thinking, well, why don't we just move these dogs to other countries to protect them? It's a great thought, but it's incredibly difficult. There are huge logistical hurdles. You've got strict rabies protocols that mean months of waiting, new age and vet requirements for getting into places like the US, and often a simple lack of infrastructure to meet all the international health rules. So where does all this leave us? What we're really talking about is preserving living history, and the future for these ancient breeds is hanging in the balance right now. Here's the bottom line. These animals are so much more than just dog breeds. They're a direct living link to the history of a continent. Their story tells our story, a story of human migration, of adapting to the environment, and of the incredible partnership between people and animals. If we lose them, we lose a piece of our own history. And all of this leaves us with one final, really important question. In a world that seems to standardize everything, from our food to our pets, how do we protect the wild originals? What's our responsibility to these incredible nature-forged survivors?